Another year has gone by, and it's been great. It's been a big year for all of us personally, and it's just the beginning. The only problem I've had is in terms of what's been released this year. I've said this multiple times, but not too many big things got released this year in terms of media. Other than Star Wars and Avengers 2, there weren't that many great blockbusters. For games, almost everything got pushed back to 2016. And for anime, there weren't that many awesome shows either, at least in my opinion. Now, there was some great stuff, don't get me wrong, but last year I always felt like there were quite a few standouts every anime season that we could look forward to. But this year, there would be about maybe 2 or 3 every season, but as I said, at least in my opinion. But I will say that all 10 of these shows were great and I enjoyed them all. Not one of these shows was mediocre, and that's all I can hope for when making a top 10. So it's time to start this list and bring an end to 2015. Number 10. Snafu Season 2. With Season 1 being one of my favorite animes of 2013, I couldn't wait until the second season. But after going through it all, I will say I was pretty mixed about it. The animation was much better, but I didn't enjoy it as much as Season 1. It went through more of the drama of the characters, which made it more interesting, but could also make it drag at points as well. But despite some of my disappointments, the writing was still really strong, as we got a good, deep look into the characters we came to enjoy from Season 1. So even though there were some disappointments, that's more of how good the first season was. So overall, it has some choices that I didn't love, but it was still good nonetheless. Number 9. Plastic Memories. So being a show that I thought might be very generic, turned out to be very good and heartwarming. The relationship between Tsukasa and Ayla was sweet, as they fell in love despite the fact that they knew they had limited time. It was a sweet show, but I just wish we got to explore more. I was interested in the other characters, and even the world of Plastic Memories and how it functions. We did get some interesting dilemmas, but I just wanted more of that. But the focus of the anime was the relationship between Tsukasa and Ayla, and that was done pretty well. Number 8. Kuroko's Basketball Season 3. So with it being the concluding chapter of Kuroko's Basketball, this also goes to the entire series as a whole. Being my first sports anime, I loved the first season of the anime and I marathoned it like crazy. The second, while not necessarily disappointing, was not as fast paced as the first season, which made me not enjoy it as much. However, the third season did not disappoint, as everything the first and second season was building up to finally went full throttle. The main conflict between Seirin and Rakuzan was amazing, as we got the fight between the wielder of the Emperor Eye and the leader of the Generation of Miracles versus the Phantom Six Man and his light. The epic third chapter to Kuroko's Basketball brought everything to a close with a conclusion that left me satisfied as well as saddened that my first sports anime came to an end. Number 7. Your Lie in April. While I had a good feeling about Your Lie in April at first, it blew away all expectations that I had. I loved seeing Kosei's journey as he was dragged back into the music world by Coyote and ultimately had to deal with his traumatic past. The main relationship between Kosei and Coyote was very compelling as they both gained strength through one another. My main complaint is that the melodrama could be annoying at times, mainly stemming from Tsubaki because there's only so many times I can watch as she considers her feelings for Kosei. Being one of the most beautiful looking shows, the music was also the highlight as it somehow made playing music seem epic. With a beautiful story of a young boy's redemption, Your Lie in April is my favorite music anime so far and a story that I would love to see continue. Number 6. Parasite. Talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. At first, I wasn't interested at all with the concept of a parasite race coming down and taking over humanity. It just seemed like one of those concepts that would just be really weird and not have good writing. But then people started to talk about how great it was, and I still wasn't sure since it seemed like it had a lot of horror and gore for the sake of having it, and I'm not really into those kind of shows. But people still kept talking about it, so I checked it out. And man, was it weird. Still didn't care for it after one episode, but I always try to give shows a chance, so I kept watching, and I kept watching, and soon I was hooked. Even though the concept was weird, and there was plenty of gore, at its core, it was a very good show with great writing that looked into the core of humanity and what exactly that means. The development of Shinichi and Miki's relationship was also interesting as these different ideals from two very different species would come into conflict with one another and produce some very deep questions. So with an interesting show with not just good writing but a great message behind it, Parasite is an anime that I would recommend, even if it's not the kind of thing you would normally watch. You might be surprised just like I was. Number 5. One Punch Man. Probably the most talked about anime at the moment, One Punch Man was an anime that everyone was anticipating to be great. And to be fair, it was great. Considered to be one of the greatest mangas in recent years, it had a lot riding on it. And who else to take on that challenge but Madhouse? Madhouse did an amazing job with One Punch Man with some truly spectacular animation and fight scenes. Just the concept of One Punch Man is amazing, with a superhero that can take everything out in one punch, but also has to go through the politics of being a superhero. While being incredibly entertaining, One Punch Man also parodies other genres, like superheroes, Power Rangers, and just anime in general. It made these jokes in a way that show just how ridiculous those kind of shows can be. But while poking fun at those shows, One Punch Man was still able to form its own identity and have some pretty amazing characters. And if you've seen it for yourself, you know what I mean when I say that Kamen Rider is simply the best. So being a show that not only poked fun at its genre, but also fully embraced it, One Punch Man was an anime that truly lived up to its name. Number 4. Food Wars, Shokugeki no Soma. So if I emphasized how much I was very unsure of if I would like Parasite or not, but in the end it turned out to be great, well, that idea was multiplied when it came to Food Wars. So I read the synopsis for Food Wars and thought it sounded interesting. Plus, I heard that this was an anime that was highly anticipated because the manga just had this huge fan base. However, after reading the synopsis, I quickly saw that one of the genres for Food Wars was hentai. At that point, I got a little skeptical, and then I saw the trailer for Food Wars and immediately thought that maybe people liked the manga for the wrong reasons. So I thought that I would still check it out, but I pretty much wrote it off already and decided that it wouldn't be any good. I then went on to see the first episode and just thought it was plain awful. The animation and the food looked pretty, but the fan service was pretty terrible. But I usually try to give shows at least a chance, so I decided to watch the second episode and it was a lot better. Not amazing, but better. And so I checked the third episode, and that was also better. And from then on, the show was much better, and I ended up enjoying it a lot. At that point, I also got used to the fan service, and even though it was still really weird, I tried to not let it get in the way of what I enjoyed from Food Wars. Of all the animes on this list, Food Wars was the one I loved the most in terms of just sheer fun and enjoyment. The characters were all enjoyable, especially Megumi and her story, and the cooking was epic. I mean, really? Epic cooking? That sounds absurd, but Food Wars pulled it off. In spite of my initial skepticism, Food Wars was a series that I grew to love, even though the fan service could get really out of hand. Number 3. Shirobako. The main thing I can say about why Shirobako is so great is that it made working seem fun. For those who don't know, Shirobako follows the character Miyamoto as she works as a production assistant for a small animation company. Through this, we follow the different aspects of the anime making process like animating, storyboarding, and producing. Shirobako did an amazing job in showing the high and low points of the job, as well as pointing out certain things that are occurring in the industry today, such as the idea of 2D versus 3D animation and how both will stand in the animation industry. Not just being entertaining, but bringing some actual insight into an industry that faces a lot of problems today was something I can only commend Shirobako in doing. What's also really interesting is that the main conflicts that occur in Shirobako are based on actual situations that the director faced in the anime industry. The crazy thing is that it's also done by PA Works, who doesn't do many shows like this. But after watching this, they should, because this is one of the best shows I have seen from them in recent years. I just thought Shirobako was going to be an entertaining show, but with its great characters and interesting ideas, it gave me a lot more than I was expecting. Number 2. Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. This was another show that I didn't expect to make the list, much less the number 2 spot. So just to put it out there, I wasn't the biggest fan of Fate Zero. There was some stuff I really liked, especially everything regarding Waver and Ryder. And due to how disappointing the original Fate Stay Night was, I wasn't too excited about this adaptation either. Nevertheless, I watched 10 episodes and I wasn't disappointed per se, but I wasn't super impressed with what I saw, except for the animation and music, but that's a given. So I stopped watching for a while, not because it was bad, but just because it was something I knew I didn't have to see right away. But then, while making this very list, I couldn't really think of a show that was good enough to fill the number 10 spot, and so since I remembered that I was almost halfway done with it, I thought I could finish Fate Stay Night and it could fill the number 10 spot or just a lower spot on the list. So I continued watching and I never expected to be completely blown away by it. Past episode 10, the anime just started getting better and better until I completely fell in love with it. In terms of just sheer epicness and scale, Fate Stay Night was the show that just blew every other show out of the water. Produced by Ufotable, the animation and music are simply unbelievable. Just the action scenes alone are a reason to check out this anime. But besides that, the story was great as well. As I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of Fate Zero, but I felt that it was a good continuation of the story. And I know almost everyone would disagree with me, but I actually enjoyed it a lot more than Fate Zero. I was also surprised how they made Shiro, who was a character that everyone hated in the original Fate Stay Night, into a character that you could respect due to his unwavering devotion to follow his path in life, no matter what criticism or pain he would experience as a result. Even though I wasn't too keen on Fate Stay Night in the beginning, I grew to love it as it didn't feel like just another anime, but rather like an event in itself. Truth be told, it was actually going to be my number 1, but then right after finishing Fate Stay Night, I watched an anime that stole the number 1 spot at the last minute. And that show was... Blood Blockade Battlefront. Now, I wish I could just say that this anime was amazing and leave it at that, but I guess I should explain why I love this anime so much. So first, this anime is simply unbelievable. Everything from its characters, to its animation, to its music, to its basic concept is so unique and really makes it stand out from the rest. I loved all of the characters as all their interactions with each other just brought so much enjoyment to this anime. The music showed off the anime's unique style as it was very catchy and conveyed the sheer fun and absurdity that would occur. The animation, also beautiful, with it being one of the best looking shows Bones has done recently. In terms of a main character, I felt that Leonardo was great and practically being a fish out of water in a world full of odd people. His story of trying to live in the city and join Libra, all for the well-being of his sister, was great to see, as well as his relationship with everyone in Libra and White. It also leaves me dumbfounded that Blood Blockade Battlefront included 2 brand new anime original characters as well as introducing an anime original plot that was actually handled really well. Usually, anime original content is seen as a negative, but Blood Blockade Battlefront made that its strength, as it did a great job in being a great adaptation of the source material as well as being able to make its own identity. If a show can make me praise not strictly following the source material, then you know that it has to be something special. So with lovable characters, catchy music, beautiful animation, and a visually stunning director to bring it all together in such a way, Blood Blockade Battlefront is what I easily consider the best anime of 2015. The only fault I can give it is that I want more. So that wraps up my thoughts on my favorite anime of 2015. There wasn't much in terms of standout shows, but what did stand out were shows that brought me much enjoyment this year. All I can say is, I feel like 2016 is going to surprise us, hopefully in more ways than one. So what did you consider the best anime of 2015? There were plenty of great anime this year, so I want to know which one you enjoyed the most. It's been one hell of a year, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.